Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Scott Belfort, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz.
Okay, next one comes in from Discord. So Rinks tagged us in a message and said, "Here's a question for the mailbag.
I love this question, by the way.
What are your thoughts on the Mets this offseason? Is this a good or a bad thing for baseball? When you have an owner that doesn't seem to care one bit about the luxury tax, are we getting away from teams being able to actually compete in this landscape? Obviously, games aren't won on paper or based on the size of your payroll, but it certainly helps. I'll let you guys elaborate. Thanks."
So I will let you pull up, and I know we don't have screen sharing here going on, but I'll let you pull up that Joel Sherman Twitter
So
tweet and
Joel,
just kind of read over it here because it's
sure. So
pretty
Joel,
telling.
Joel Sherman tweets out, Mets currently at about 340 million for 18 signed players for tax purposes, which includes Robinson Cano. Will owe about 27 million for 6 ARB cases, and each team charged about 18.2 million for benefits slash ARB pool. They must complete a 26-man roster. That is 345 million or so. The tax on that. We're not talking about like federal tax or anything. We're just talking the luxury tax penalty will be
The
70
CBT.
$76.2 million. So that would be what, 345 plus 76? That
Yeah,
would be the total that they are paying. So
over
that's over
400
400
million.
million.
We've never seen this spending in baseball. Like think about that 400 million. Think about that 76 million dollar number for the CBT.
So
They're paying more tax than the Pirates are paying in salary.
so yeah, Joel Sherman adds part 2 to this tweet. Says total for 2023 payroll 42, sorry, I'm not even used to seeing numbers this big. $421 million. The tax alone is going to be higher than some teams' payrolls.
I saw a comment in Discord from our good buddy Mustard Tiger that will fit in really well here and really adds to what we're talking about. So he says, I also think there's another side to this question that we won't know for 5+ years. Is this type of free agency frenzy by the Mets going to lead them to just being a roster full of 35 to 40-year-olds making 25 to 35 AAV per year? Or are they going to double down and DFA bad contracts and just keep signing folks? If they are weighed down at some point in any way, I think while this is still bad for baseball, it at least feels finite. Great, great point here.
Sure.
And then he goes, but if they're doing this every year forever, that's pretty hard to swallow. We're in professional soccer territory at that point.
Um, so, I mean, good points. Where do
I
you
guess the
fall on
question
this
is
then?
here. I guess the question is here, is this bottomless pockets? Because the only way that this is truly unfair to the rest of the organizations out there, if the Mets can just literally double the Yankees spending. Like they're literally at the point, like $421 million spent in 2023. That's the Jays are at 200 million and are seventh in all of baseball. Like the Jays spend, I know people are gonna hate hearing this and probably
You're
roast me in the comments for it, but they are still, like they're at a top 1/3 of
you're a Rogers
teams.
plant, Scott. Cut
I'm
it
a
out.
Roger frickin' spy. Look at me go.
Okay, so my question out of this that I'm focusing on here is this good or bad for baseball? And for me, it's fine. It's not. I guess I would say it's good for baseball, just in that owners are spending money. The business is growing, so that's the silver lining here. Um, if baseball was dying, no one was watching, it wouldn't be an appealing venture for an owner to come in and go, I want a team in baseball because, right? Like, I'd
Yeah.
rather a rich millionaire spend that money in baseball than in basketball anyways, that's kind of besides the point that I want to get at. I think a bigger problem with the whole luxury tax system is that there's no floor.
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
would agree with that.
so much more worse for baseball
Yeah.
that a team can spend $12 million on 26 players and get
And
away
this
with
is
it.
where I think you need a reasonable floor. Like make it $75 million. There's no reason if honestly, if you're a major league organization and you can't afford to spend $75 million in today's baseball, you don't deserve a team.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like I legitimately feel that way. Like,
Okay. I hear you, but also what is the consequence for that? Because rules without consequences don't mean anything
yes,
anyways. So are we going to just get in a situation where we're like folding teams? Because I don't think that's good for baseball either.
no,
Where we're
that's
like
terrible for
Oakland,
baseball, of course.
I don't know the owner's name in Oakland, but
Yeah.
you don't deserve a team. Oakland doesn't exist anymore. And
Yeah.
now we're just hoping someone else steps up for an expansion replace. Like I don't like that idea. Um,
See,
but
this
there
is a
should be
tough
something.
this
That's
is a
why there
this is
isn't
a
one, right?
legit
Is it's
quagmire, right? Like it's like what do you do? How do you prevent this from happening? How do you, without being too heavy-handed, convince these lesser spending teams to spend a little more and be competitive? Like how do you prevent the Pirates from happening perennially, right? Like how do you prevent the Cincinnati Reds constantly selling? Like
well,
you can't have these teams constantly rebuilding. Eh,
and like part of the revenue sharing needs to be redirected towards payroll, I think, because we've had David Sampson on the show before.
mhm,
We should talk to him and get him back
mhm,
this spring. But he's former, I guess, vice president technically of the Marlins, was with the Expos, so he knows all the ins and outs of this. And being a revenue sharing team and a bottom of the cap
mhm.
spender and everything like that, and he knows all the loopholes and everything like this. Really smart guy, bit of an asshole, probably rubs a lot of people the wrong way. That's why I love him.
Yeah,
But like he's honest. He's like, look, when your team gets 50 million in revenue sharing from the Yankees and the Mets and whoever, he's like, you are obligated to spend it on the team. Like you can't just profit it and give it out as Christmas bonuses to
yeah,
the board. He's like, but he's like, you're not obligated to spend it on payroll. So we don't. We spend it on facility upgrades. We
mhm,
spend it on like other things that actually increase the value of the business, right? Because like real estate is
right.
always worth stuff. Physical
Yeah,
like
yeah,
assets are worth stuff. Whereas giving away $15 million to a pitcher when we're probably not going to win this year anyways doesn't add value to the business of the Miami Marlins or whatever, right? Whereas spending 50 million on upgrades to the facilities and the stadium and whatever, it's like that's an asset, right? Even to go buy another jet, go, all these things, right? Those are assets that stick with and the value is sustained. So that's a problem I think that needs to be addressed is that sort of stuff.
couldn't agree
But
more. Couldn't agree
okay.
more.
That was probably a really boring clip for
Hey,
people to sit through.
I think you really are onto something here, man. Luxury tax should need to be funneled back into the team budget.
Yeah.
Should be back into salary. It's the only way to continue to force these teams to be competitive and not just lose because it's more. As soon as it becomes more profitable to lose, you've got a real problem with the league.
Maybe I mean, I have this thought just kind of popped into my head. I'm sure there's problems with it as well, but maybe there's some sort of a thing where we talked about a salary floor. Maybe there is a floor where there's no penalty of like you don't get to have a franchise. We're folding you. You don't exist anymore. But maybe there is a like you have to spend at least 40 million on payroll in order to qualify for revenue sharing,
Interesting. I like
right?
that. Incentivize it.
You want your big bucks from the Yankees and the Dodgers who have these big TV deals that you think that by sending Miami Marlins to New York to play 13 times a year, you think you're contributing to their profits? Well, not if you're only sending a $12 million payroll up there, you're not.
We really appreciate all of you within the walk-off community. This thing continues to grow and become an animal of its own. It's a little bit overwhelming, but honestly, we love talking Blue Jays baseball and all the interaction that you folks are involved with us. Thank you so much. Discord, feel free to join it. That is always free. The show, or the link is in the show notes. You can follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube currently and you're not subscribed, we'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. All the best, everybody. Cheers.